ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜਕੱਲ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਦੌਰ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਦੋਵੇਂ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਲਈ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਲਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਉੱਘੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੀ ਡੈਮੋਕ੍ਰੇਟ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲਈ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਏ ਹਨ। ਉਹ ਹੇਠਲੇ ਪੱਧਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਲਈ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਕਮਲਾ ਹੈਰਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਚੋਣ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਦੇਖੇ ਗਏ ਹਨ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਡੈਮੋਕ੍ਰੇਟ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲਈ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਲਈ ਚੋਣ ਲੜ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਦੋ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਲਤੀਫਾ ਸਾਈਮਨ ਅਤੇ ਜੈਸਿਕਾ ਮੋਰਸ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ। ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਗੂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਨ। ਇਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਨੇ ਲਤੀਫਾ ਸਾਈਮਨ ਅਤੇ ਜੈਸਿਕਾ ਮੋਰਸ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਸਥਾਰ ਨਾਲ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਤੇ ਰੁਲ ਰਹੇ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤੇ। ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਆਗੂਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਲ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਠਾਉਣਗੇ। ਇਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਹੋਰਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਗੁਰਜਤਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਰੰਧਾਵਾ, ਜੱਸੀ ਸ਼ੇਰਗਿੱਲ, ਦਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਾਵਰ, ਗੁਰਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੜੈਚ, ਬਲਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਾਸੀ, ਬਲਵਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੰਧੂ, ਮਲਕੀਤ ਬੋਪਾਰਾਏ, ਬਲਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਿਰਕ ਅਤੇ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਸਿੰਘ ਕੈਲੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਸਨ। ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਆਯੋਜਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ।
These two ladies, they are very pro-immigrant, okay? Latifa has a record for fighting for immigrants, and we need people, as she was telling, that immigration has been an issue for the last 30 years and nothing has been done.
That's right.
We always cry about the border, but the thing is that people are living here for 30 years, they have no work permits, nothing. And how can even like countries like Dubai, any single, you name Canada, you name Australia, they have work permit system. In US there is no work permit system. Anybody who comes here, they have to wait for 6 months to get the work permit, and they start working the next day when they come here. So what makes sense that you come here and you work for 6 months under the table and then you get the work permit? Why don't you get the work permit the day you enter? This is like ridiculous, and they know everybody works. So this kind of system we have. So two issues that one is facing the Sikh community that we see all the time, Tifa. First is that the Sikh, like Jews, they are a group who are like there are people here who are fighting for a separate like a state in India, like they want to get independence from there. So they are being targeted by the Indian government, and some have been killed in different countries, some have been attacked. So that is the issue for transnational terrorism. There was a news yesterday that two people, like Canada, they expelled the whole Indian diplomats, okay, from there because they were involved in killing and terrorism, the Sikhs in Canada. So here, the federal government, like in New York, there was a statement from the Attorney General. So they indicted a Indian government high official for conspiring to kill and terrorize the Sikhs here. And they said it won't be tolerated because America is a country of law. You cannot come here and kill or threaten people. There's a process. If you need somebody, file extradition and all that. Second thing what happened, that there was a member parliament in India who won from the jail. He's being jailed. He won independently, like the biggest margin in Punjab, right? When he's still in jail, they won't let him take oath in the parliament, and won't release him. The government. I personally spoke to Kamala Harris, and I spoke to many members of Congress and senators. And Kamala Harris and her team talked with the Indian government. They talked with the foreign minister. They talked with the ambassador, and they said you have to have him do the duties of a member of parliament, have him take oath. And he did take oath, and it was a big role that Kamala Harris played. I have personal knowledge of these two issues because I personally took them with her, and she was so receptive. So this is like they have always stood with the Sikh community and the issues and for human rights. I have personal experience of that.
And when the volunteers like myself weren't doing the right thing, she'd yell at us and send us home. But, again, this woman, can you imagine coming here at 19 years old by herself? She gets into Cal, finishes her PhD, meets Kamala's father. They get married. They get divorced soon after Maya and Kamala were born. She's working at Lawrence Livermore Labs, leading breast cancer research. And again, raising 2 babies by herself.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of president I want, someone who's had the experience of seeing a powerful woman. Shamla told me one day when I was working for Kamala as a leader in her reentry unit, She said, center immigrants. She said, because even though I have a PhD, 2 master's degrees, the moment that I open my mouth, folks don't believe that I'm human.
Wow.
And she said, I speak with an accent. I don't think with an accent. And I remember getting chills and thinking, some of the most brilliant people in the world who have navigated countries to only be met with disrespect consistently here. So I think Jessica also wants to speak to this issue, but it is, for us, I think, again, this new generation of thoughtful policy folks who know that we can change these systems. Systems are made up of people, and we do need your direction, your mentorship, your push, and your accountability. I don't know, Jessica, you want to speak to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is, I was on the ground in Iraq for about 1.5 years with USAID. And it was an active war zone, right, the entire time. And I saw not only the impact it had on our troops, but also my Iraqi colleagues. You know, they were taking mortar fire and rocket fire like I was every single day, except they were going through this with their children. And so I've seen how people can get pushed to a brink where they don't have a choice but to leave. And that it is a very desperate choice. And so we need a humane system to be able to ensure that we have the capacity to be able to process people quickly. It shouldn't take 10 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to come to this country. And to Latifah's point, our country also needs immigrants to be able to fill in the roles that are needed here. I mean, this is where you get this country can attract the best and the brightest from around the world who can deliver things. But I grew up down the street and went to Mira Loma High School, and most of my friends were first generation immigrants, and their parents were doctors and lawyers and professors in their home countries, and then came here and weren't able to get recertified, right? So you had this sort of waste of skills that weren't getting fully utilized, and they were counting on the next generation to really keep lifting up. And so I think there's profound reforms that are needed, and a lot of it's not partisan, it's not even ideological. A lot of it is ensuring that our immigration system can have the capacity and to be able to actually process people in a way that is transparent. Working in national security, I worked for in defense, development, diplomacy, right? The 3 pillars of American national security. And I worked for the U.S. Agency for International Development, trying to do humanitarian aid work around the world. I worked for the U.S. State Department, driving diplomacy, and I worked for U.S. Pacific Command, U.S. Defense Department, actually on U.S.-India defense relationships. And I was out at the embassy in New Delhi for about 6 months, working as a diplomat out there. And in that time, this predates Modi, right? We saw that there was this huge promise to be working with the world's largest democracy, and this huge promise to be able to create stronger partnerships with India. And then, like many countries you're seeing a rise of authoritarianism and nationalism, right? And so with the rise of Modi in India, you're seeing a level of extremism. And that is playing out, right, in Indian politics, which I know you're watching closely. But for that then to turn into attacks on people in America is unacceptable, right? We wouldn't accept Chinese going after Taiwanese citizens here in San Francisco, right? We wouldn't accept countries coming into U.S. soil and attacking people for speaking out about their beliefs, right? And to Jaspreet's point, if there is illicit activity happening, that's when you have these government-to-government relationships. The U.S. has put out an opening for India to be able to talk with us, to work with us, and say, hey, if there's something illegal happening, that is handled at the national level, that is handled at the judicial system. We don't support extrajudicial actions in America because rule of law is fundamental to our democracy. Democracies fail.
Was a perfect, I love her, but a perfect candidate or not, the alternative is draconian.
Yes.
Not just mass deportation. It is literally having someone in the White House who is clearly racist. And so while immigration shouldn't be a partisan issue, the fear of men of color, of women of color, being in leadership, owning businesses, being able to be in leadership of the financial sector, of the current science sector here, the knowledge economy. That is racism. That is racism to refer to large groups of people as inhuman. And so we are actually fighting for not only for Kamala to get there, but you all remember, I was raised Muslim. And I went to a number of masjids growing up that were, they're multinational folk. And when the Muslim ban hit, and you all remember, the amazing organizations, mostly of young attorneys here, they took over airports to protest and marched on Washington. There is a new generation of folks who, we weren't like my mother who was born in a segregated South. It's shocking, and we won't stand for it. Not only it's not American, it shouldn't be American to bifurcate groups of people as inhuman and lock up children in cages and separate, and that's still happening actually under the Biden administration. And I think having folks in Congress who we love our party, we also have to make sure that we have the courage and the connection to shame the devil when it's time.